The Beach FM Business Lunch Show, brought to you by PlaceMakers Kapiti Horowhenua. Together we're building New Zealand.
Welcome back to the Business Lunch Show on Beach FM 106.3. Well, it is an ever-changing world, so let's bring back a familiar voice to some Beach FM listeners. He is now the country manager of VA Worldwide. It's David Ashton. G'day, David.
Yeah, hi, Damian. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Difficult times for many, I suppose, but we're getting through it.
Outstanding, mate. Well, first and foremost, what we like to do on the show is just to get to know our people who we're talking to, but more importantly, what you guys do. So in your own words, what is VA Worldwide?
So VA Worldwide is a technology company. We're an IBM business partner, and we have an operation. We're headquartered in Canberra in Australia. We have an R&D tech facility in Singapore, and we operate the national office for New Zealand, based out of the Lindale Centre, close to your home.
Wow.
And essentially what we do is we're a software provider. We also develop software, and we train people in how to use the software.
Awesome. What kind of software are we talking?
So in essence, it's around analytics. So investigations, for example, insurance companies might do fraud investigations. Government agencies may have to do some investigations internally or with various roles they have as well. So our clients are normally government or commercial agencies like the banking sector or insurance.
Okay. And I'm guessing with your software, it makes their job easier to find little things?
Yeah, so very often there's a lot of data, and a lot of the data has to be filtered through. And when you're looking for investigations and you're trying to identify, clear evidence of something that's gone wrong, so what our software does is it allows people to bring in or ingest lots of data from various sources, filter through what's not relevant, and then see a clearer picture of what they're trying to achieve or what they're trying to identify.
Yes. Awesome. Hey, with this, just with the way my brain works, is that there's a lot of people out there at the moment that's going to be wanting a lot of stats on a lot of things. So is it with your software, with your packages, do you make it specifically for your clients and what their needs are and what they need to find out, or is it something that is quite general?
Yeah, so the software itself is used around the world. There's 140 countries use the software.
Wow.
So it's an established set of software tools. It's owned by IBM. And what we do is we engage with the client and say, what are your problems? What are you trying to achieve? And very often the software itself has the ability to be very versatile. So it can be utilized by lots of different organizations and different roles within those organizations. But occasionally, for example, if there's a database needs building, we can make that database specific to the agency as well. Right. So we can modify things, or we talk about out of the box. So if the software is delivered out of the box, it normally can do 60 to 80% of what a client needs. And then there's a little bit of configuration just to make it fit the role perfectly.
Of course. Now, with working with banks and governments, you guys would have been pretty busy over COVID-19?
Yeah, so like all of us, we were affected as much as anybody. So our clients, most of which were particularly government agencies, they had to work from home. There was directives for everyone to work from home, as we did. Yes. So very often we would then initially engage with clients to say, well, how can you still perform your role? And do you need to be able to access the software through the cloud or through various levels of technology to achieve your objectives? Because nobody really knew how long it was going to go ahead for. So we couldn't just send everyone home and say, look, we'll give you a call when it's all over, which would have been nice for most people. So what we did is after about a sort of week to 10 days, then once people had got their home offices set up and their own internal arrangements made, we would get involved and say, well, look, how do you need to access? Can we make some changes, or, do we need to provide you with some extra licenses temporarily to work from home? And so we just work with clients on an individual basis so they were able to perform their duties. And from an internal basis, from an organisation, because we have organisational offices in Singapore, Canberra, and New Zealand, we had to also deal with how we communicated internally. And obviously, time zones in itself is a challenge. So we created little internal mechanisms. So, for example, we used Slack, which is a very common tool used in business to communicate within. So we had these communication channels open. But we also wanted to stay in touch because we didn't have that human-to-human interaction. So we created Zoom meetings twice a week, which we haven't done before. And so that enabled us to physically see each other. So from a duty of care, where people are isolated at home, we also wanted to make sure that individuals had a touch point. So as a manager, I was able to speak to people individually, make sure they were okay, the family was okay, no stress points. But we also got together twice a week on Zoom channels where we all used our video cameras and we all got to interact. And over time, that also involved on a Friday, we had a little quiz. So we just used to have a bit of fun so that we tried to break up the working week and make sure that we built in a bit of human interaction to help everybody through.
Brilliant stuff. We should have added a quiz to our Friday drinks that we did by Zoom for those few weeks. Would have been made a bit laugh. Hey, when you mentioned the cloud, people working from home, was there extra security you had to put into your software, or was it all pretty much there?
Yeah, so many of our clients utilize the cloud anyway. So those are one of the considerations when we engage with a customer is to say, how do you store your data? How do you access your data? What privacy rules do you have? Because, again, there are lots of constraints on privacy and security is a key aspect of that. So we often engage with them, and most agencies have already very strong resilience for security. They already have all those in place. But working from home, then there is also considerations there. There is potentially weaknesses there. And again, those are the responsibility of the client, not for us, but we can advise on that. So, again, we've got technology experts within the company that can give advice to them if they need it. Most of the time, I think all of the clients we had didn't have an issue with that. They'd already had these practices in place. But I think it's an important aspect that we've talked about with other people as well, that if COVID-19 had happened 10 years ago, or an event like this had happened 10 years ago, I don't think the technology would have been available for us to do all these Zoom meetings, because broadband technology, it is only relatively stable and of a certain level that now in the last 5 years, where 10 years ago we would not have been able to work from home like we have done and still perform. So I think it's an interesting timing from a technology point of view that we're able to still perform. And I think when we look at the lessons learned, maybe in a year's time or however long this will go on, we'll be able to reflect on the current situation. And also then if it happens again, which unfortunately we don't want to, but it's inevitable at some point it will happen again, then when it happens or when we have to have those lockdowns, the technology is already proven. It will obviously get better anyway. And so those lessons learned will ensure that if, from a business perspective, people will still be able to conduct business and perform business, and it should have less of an impact than the shock we had in March when we suddenly had to say, hey, you've all got to work from home, and we'll see how we go.
Absolutely. Hey, 10 years ago, we would have seen a lot of freeze frames and pixelated cameras, that's for damn sure. Hey, with everything going forward now, David, it's going to become a data-centric universe, isn't it? We're going to be bean counters again kind of thing with a lot of businesses. So with your software, is this something that more, not just the big guys should be looking at, or some of the smaller business maybe should be looking towards their software and if they're using their products better?
I think data's everywhere. Data's king, as we call it in the business. You can't perform now without doing some sort of analysis with your own data. And even a single operator, a painter or decorator or plumber, business data using data smartly and using it to analyze their performances, will improve. Where is my business making a loss? Where am I able to improve my bottom line? And even so, at the very low level end of business, the one man band, you can get a lot of information from data, and scaling that up, we talk about scalability. You know, we're talking some clients have millions of records to deal with on a daily basis. So, you know, technology can help there. And essentially, it's really a case of saying, how am I working? What am I doing? And what can I do better? And data can help that. So with our software, it's usually on the higher end. It's quite expensive from from a small business perspective. But certainly on a, there is a lot of very, very capable software, even using things like Excel spreadsheets, using data and looking at some of the analytics you can do from that. There's a great piece of software which is free, which people don't always know about, called Power BI. It's a business intelligence tool. It's made by Microsoft, and you can download it for free, called Power BI. And it will access information on, say, a spreadsheet, and that you can turn it into dashboards, so you can see visually some of your could be your income, your outgoings, your bills, and it can be looked at graphically, and that helps you to understand what your business is doing. So if you're not into analytics, and you don't have to pay it, you can get these tools for free. But these are available, and it's sometimes smart for a small business to maybe ensure that they are looking at their data, looking at their profit and loss, even a simple chart to see how they're tracking, and even comparing year by year, you can see when those peaks and troughs are. And if you know every year that, say, March and April, my accounts historically have been quite low, then why is that? And is there something that you can do to ensure that cash flow covers those weaker years, those weaker months through the year?
Well, it's not just data. It's not just the security, not just the online. We've just got to. All these things are just more tools for the future, so we're better prepared for anything to come our way, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think as well, you don't want to overcomplicate things as well. So there are simple tools that you can easily use. You don't want to be training. You don't want to be spending a lot of money. But there are so many free tools out there, and I think it's just good advice just to speak to somebody within the networks that people do. I love these business network groups. They're really great ideas for sharing information, and they're not competitive. A lot of people fear that they're going to expose some of their competitors to some of their techniques and so on, but that isn't necessarily so. We often engage with people who we would compare as would suggest are competitors, but we share information, and we're not fearful of talking to the industry, because at the end of the day, it's really about combating common threats. And in the world of fraud, that is a common risk to everybody. I used to work for the insurance industry as well, and common insurance fraud is often seen as an easy way of making money. But what they don't realise is it's not a loss. It's not a valueless loss to anybody. At the end of the day, an insurance company is a business that loses money, and eventually they have to make profit. So they often load the policies or the premiums for other people. So people who can less afford it end up paying for that over the longer time. So I think data and certainly smaller businesses talk to each other, get networking, and try and see other ways to improve your business.
Fantastic. David, thank you so much for your time. Lastly, where can people follow up? How can they find you guys if they want to know more information?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we love talking to people. You can catch it as our website, vaworldwide.com. And we're up at the Lindale Centre, and you can find my details through the website. Or you can get me at david.ashton@va-worldwide.com, which is a long-winded email address. But always happy to talk and chat, and if someone wants to send me an email, always happy to do that. And if you go to our website, we've also got little YouTube channels and social media, and you can access those. You can actually see our software. We've got some great videos where you can see our software actually operating, and I think people might find it quite interesting to see how that software is used.
Absolutely. As a former banker and a former insurance person, I can't wait to see it. And I know that sounds weird, but it's, small kicks. It is what it is. Thank you, David, for your time today, mate. Go well. We'll catch up soon.
Wonderful. No worries, Damian. Thanks a lot.